Hello and welcome to Post Game Theory. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today we're going to break down Reed Sheppard's first start, a really fun game against the Oklahoma City Thunder where it felt like a majority of the Houston Rockets lineup was injured and did not play in this game, from Amen Thompson and Dylan Brooks to Fred VanVleet. Jalen Green was awful in this game. So you had a really, really good opportunity to see Reed Sheppard get a lot of high leverage minutes against one of the best defenses that we've seen in the NBA, really in the last 2 decades. So I'm really kind of excited to break this down. He ends up going in this first start for 25 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 turnovers, goes 10 for 17 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. It was kind of one of those games where you could see him figure it out and process things and kind of problem solve throughout the course of the game, to where he ends up exploding in the fourth quarter and almost bringing Houston back from a 20-point deficit to where I think they get it within 6 at one point after he throws a pass to Cam Whitmore and Whitmore gets fouled and he hits 2 free throws. So I'm really excited to talk about this one. It's a really, really fun game, really exciting game. And we'll talk about kind of what we need to see a little bit more of, what we need to see a little bit less of from Reed Sheppard as we continue. But first, shout out to the good folks over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. We love Prize Picks here at Game Theory because of how easy they make it to get real money sports action. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money as quick as in 15 minutes. If you think somebody like Stephen Curry or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are going to go nuts next week, Shai ended up with 51 in this game we're about to break down. If you think he's going to go for 50 again next week, this week, whenever, you can make that pick in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code GameTheory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use that code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay. So let's jump in. We're just going to go first quarter, break it down like we always do here. By the way, hit the subscribe button over on the YouTube channel. We just passed 16,000 subscribers. You guys are amazing. We really appreciate all of you guys hanging out, being with us, really rocking with us and having a great time with these breakdowns, having a great time listening to Bryce and I on the channel break down basketball. But let's jump in. Let's talk about Reed Sheppard. So first possession of the game here, we're just going to get started, get right into it. So they're in kind of a funky zone. They busted out this weird zone for large swaths of this game here. Reed, he ends up on Shai. Shai's going to come up, hit this little high-low little pass right at the foul line extended area to Chet Holmgren. Chet's going to drive, and now you're going to get to see Reed Sheppard kind of at his best defensively. Really, really sharp with his hands. That's always been a primary skill of his. Very, very good defensive disruptor at Kentucky. I wouldn't necessarily call him a great defender. I think that's a big part of why he doesn't play. This game particularly, you got to see a lot of the concerns that come up with Reed defensively. But if we're going to break those down, we're going to stop and talk about the good things too. Reed's hands are fantastic. His hand-eye coordination shows up in multiple points of this game as being really disruptive. There are also points where it's a problem. And you just see the lack of length, you see the size, and you see that he can be a hindrance defensively. But this one just gets those hands right in there, gets his hand right on the ball, rips it. Jock Lawndale picks it up. We're going the other way. 10:33 mark of the first here. Early screen from Lawndale, catches Shai. He's going to end up kind of coming back, trying to recover, getting Reed and fouling him here. I mean, this is just Reed being fantastic within ball screens, right? We knew this coming into the year. We got to see more of this, I think, at Summer League, more than we've gotten to see so far in the regular season for the Houston Rockets. He is extremely comfortable in this mid-range area. It's just not something he had to do last year at Kentucky, but he has a chance to be a really lethal mid-range scorer. If this game, if Summer League, if anything that we have seen when he's gotten a chance to be a high usage point guard really comes up and we get a chance to, see this more often. So here you're going to see him use this little patient pound dribble, and then he's going to snake the ball screen and get it back to his right. He's going to bring this thing. He's going to try and just cut off the angle. He's going this way, and then he's cutting off the angle for Shea to be able to recover and use that length, right? Shea is so big and so long compared to Reed, but by cutting off his angle, he kind of minimizes that length advantage. Shea just kind of gets into his space. You can see here, bumps him underneath. That's where the foul is. Shea looks a little bit frustrated, but he got him. Just sharp, really, really sharp. Next time down the court defensively, I mean, this is one where you get to see the great hands, and you also get to see just the lack of length. It's going to always be really hard for Reed, in my opinion, to play recovery in the NBA because he's not overly fast, because he's not overly tall, overly long. One thing I will call out here, look, this group of players, these 5 out here for Houston, it's very clear throughout this game, they just have not played a lot of minutes together, right? So you're really struggling here to figure out, okay, this is off of a made basket. This is a Cam Whitmore transition bucket. Who's stopping the ball? Who's going to get the ball? Reed, I think, is expecting, because Reed's primary throughout the big course of when they were in man-to-man was Lou Dort. I think he's expecting here to be the trailer. But he sees, okay, wait, we're kind of outnumbered here. We've got Hartenstein diving to the rim, which means Lawndale has to be here. We've got an extra body over here. If Jalen Green goes to pick up Shea, it's going to leave Jalen Williams wide open. That doesn't work. So really, Reed, the main thing is here that Whitmore probably has to get back more than anything, but Reed decides to go. And honestly, I love that he gets his hand on the ball here. I love that he's able to kind of, again, use that incredibly disruptive hand-eye coordination to be able to get his hand on the ball here, disrupt what Shea's trying to do. But by the time he recognizes that Shea has the ball back, he's kind of just already dead on this, right? And if Shea has this wide open 10-footer, I mean, it's not a layup, but it's probably 75% going in. So a little too easy there. It's just going to be hard for Reed in recovery in these situations. This is kind of a fun out of bounds play you're going to get to see. So entry here by Green into Lawndale. Lawndale is going to set a DHO screen here. And we're basically just into a zoom, a Chicago, whatever you want to call it. 12 seconds left on the shot clock. Shea kind of reaches here. I love Reed's patience. Those little hesitation dribbles, the pace, the poise, the confidence, able to get his guys off balance just slightly to be able to take advantage of his shooting gifts. And by the way, with how good of a shooter Reed is, and his reputation as a shooter is already pretty real, as you can see here in the NBA, you have to go over this screen. If you go under it, he's just pulling up to his left here and it's curtains. It's interesting that he's already getting treated as if he's a real shooter. That's important, I think, as we get into the fourth quarter where he's particularly good. Reed goes up, kind of decides, okay, I'm going to try and open up an angle here to get Lawndale. I think my read on what he's seeing here is that Hartenstein has his foot really in the ground and kind of stuck here. And he just decides, all right, let's assume that Hartenstein is going to be able to recover here and I can get this angle and I can throw this ball up to Lawndale. Lawndale eventually gets into a post up, gets back to his right hook. That's the kind of stuff Jock loves to do. It's also why his field goal percentage can be a little bit less effective than what you would see, but it's a big part of his game. So this one, Reed's ending up recovering here. out to a shooter, kind of just decides, all right, I'm in help defense here. I'm going to go for this steal. He gets a hand on it, as you can see, like this ball deflects, kind of shoots out that way. And then he goes for the ball again, which understandable here. It's your reaction. But he ends up not getting home, leads to a dunk because Lou Dort's able to get middle penetration here, which means Lawndale has to step up here. You get Hartenstein going to the rim here. It's just difficult, right? Again, the lack of length does show up concerningly on defense here. In college, what you have to remember is that the court is just a little bit more shrunken. So 3-point line's probably like there, which means Lou Dort's probably low, kind of trying to get back out maybe to right here for a three in college. It's a little bit easier to get that angle there as opposed to all the way out here where it's just more space that he has to cover to be able to kind of cut off that angle with the way that Shea would be able to throw this ball a little bit higher, right? Instead of being able to go here and go to a more direct line, he really has to kind of come out this way to try and go for the steal. The lack of length on an NBA court is a real hindrance at times. And then on top of it, if he doesn't get home, he just has no way. This is an auto peel switch. He has to go to J-Dub at that point. And that's if this doesn't happen where it's an easy lob. The lack of length can be concerning. It is a real factor, unfortunately. This one, kind of a fun, I think after timeout play, if I remember correctly. So Reed enters the ball here. He's going to come through this way, and I believe he's going to come back around that way. So screen here. Little tight curl trying to get an advantage here. Leads to a switch. Sometimes teams don't switch that. That can be there for an easy little attempted layup. Instead, now you're back into basically what turns into a pseudo empty side ball screen. Really, I would imagine. Look, I'm not in the Rockets locker room. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know their spacing principles. The way a lot of teams run this action is that they'll have that player then come up here and it'll be an empty because the player curling here will then filter to this corner and Whitmore will lift. And I like this action a lot more as an empty for Reed as opposed to being, Jabari Smith is just kind of standing here in the middle of this and kind of cluttering the space, right? This makes it a little bit more difficult to see the, potential angles here. Reed, though, gets an angle and a really good defender in Alex Caruso. Jabari filters to the corner. And Reed's able to get downhill and get past Caruso here for this very nice little right-handed finish. Reed isn't like an amazing finisher. There are a couple of spots, he throws up like a goofy little like kind of hook shot later in this game. I can't remember if I pulled that one or not. There are moments where Reed has issues around the rim, but I think he picks his spots well around the rim more than anything. And that makes him a potentially effective player in the NBA as a finisher around the basket. This one just does a really good job with his gather here as well. I like the way that he angles his body, angles his hips, makes it so that Caruso here is going to have to go just straight through him and foul him if he wants to get through. Goes up off of 2 feet. uses his body to shield the ball, gets that ball all the way out here, extends out as much as he can. And it's beautiful. It's perfect. The fundamentals never in question with Reed Sheppard, right? So now we're going to get into a few defensive issues here over the next couple. Here, Reed picks up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He had 51 in this game. Some of them were on Reed. I mean, just can't happen. Like, I get that it's Shai. I get that it's a guy in the open court. Look, if he gets by you after like crossing you up, if he gets by you, setting you up with a move, if he has to go right to left, left to right, between the legs, and then goes left to right again and beats you, it's more okay because you might have another help defender here. You might have a help defender coming in this way. You might just give these guys a little bit more time to be able to recover. But just getting beaten, hesitation in a straight line. Again, look, I don't want to take anything away from Shai, who is unbelievable and probably the best scorer in the NBA right now. But it can't just be hesitation, straight line to the rim. Got to be able to cut him off. And then this one here, literally next possession down the court, again, Reed picks up Shai in transition. Just a little pound dribble right into his space. Jab step while keeping the dribble alive. Pushes Reed back here. And again, you just see the lack of length. Being able to contest, right? I mean, he sells out for this thing. Reed's always going to play hard. He really sells out for this, but this is a clean look at the end of the day. This is a really clean look for Shai. And it's hard. It is undeniably, there are defensive issues that are going to prop up with Reed, and you're going to have to figure out a way to shield him. Again, I would imagine that a big piece of shielding him, if guys like Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, etc., were in the lineup, would be that those guys would be like scratching and clawing and fighting to get like all the way back. But again, like part of this is that Shai is really smart here. Shai comes down on this side of the court, knowing he can isolate Reed to this side of the court. Now, in my opinion, if this was like Dylan Brooks or, if this was Amen Thompson or something, I think they would be calling out, I've got ball. And you'd have Reed shoot through to the right side of the court defensively, left side of the court offensively. And you'd be trying to minimize these one-on-one attacks. But because their team is injured right now, and because this specific group of players on the court does not have crazy time having played with one another, those things don't happen and you get to see some of these things. But undeniably, like in the playoffs, they're going to have to figure if Reed is going to be like a significant piece of this rebuild. And I still am a strong believer that he is. And you'll see why in the fourth quarter. And frankly, you'll see why on this play here coming up. They're going to have to solve some of these things and figure out ways to avoid matchups like this. This game, half your team's out. And frankly, 4 of your 5 starters are out in this one. Realistically, 5 because Jalen was as bad as he was. You probably don't go into this game with much expectation of winning. But this play here, again, you get to see the hands. Yeah, he gets beat here, undeniably. But the hand comes down, knocks the ball out. Honestly, I think that ball's out on Shai, and Oklahoma City got lucky, got the ball. But he can do that stuff. Like he is not like Trae Young on defense. He's not LaMelo Ball on defense. Like there's real effort and there is real hand-eye coordination where when he gets beat, there is like genuine recovery potential for him. So this one now, second quarter, screen into a rescreen. Again, just very comfortable from the mid-range. I love the way he plays off 2 feet. Love how he kind of times going around the screen here. Nafali Dante, who's like their third string center, he ends up diving all the way to the rim here, kind of slipping this. When he does that, Chet really has to backpedal in his drop. He has to really get back. He has to get some depth, which means it's Cason Wallace all on his own at that point. And Reed knows that he has Cason on his hip here after that initial screening action into the rescreen. So if Reed can just use his pace, slow down, speed up, stop, get to this little Dirk fadeaway here. You see the leg out, create that little bit of space. That's a shot he's comfortable taking. Typically, I don't love these mid-range jumpers, but like with Reed, he is such a good shooter to where I think that there's a good shot that might be an efficient shot for him. Certainly in this game, it was an efficient shot for him, as we'll continue to see. But in general, he is extremely comfortable from this area of the court. And if you can make those at 50%, that's a pretty good shot. That works. So this one, just gets absolutely drilled by the screen here. And look, this is a really good screen from Chet, Just early. DHO. Chet's going to hit him. Cason's going to come around. Notice again, like how Oklahoma City's spacing here, get into an empty side action as opposed to, an action where Jabari on the last one was filtering that way. I mean, this is just a tough matchup. I know that Chet is not super strong, and I think that Reed tries to do the right thing here, tries to get kind of under his space, tries to find a way around, potentially front him, but Chet just kind of seals him. He's too big, and Reed, fouls him, grabs him, all's fair here. I like that he grabs him, holds him up, make sure he's not going to fall awkwardly, but it's what it costs a foul there, and it costs 2 points at the end of the day because he is small, and that's going to be a mismatch opportunity. So this one, now we're into the empty. I mean, this is just a nasty little move here to get some space and separation from Cason to me. I love this. Now you're going to get into just this little hang dribble into a cross between the legs again to get back. I personally think this pass probably needs to go out there now. Like this just needs to be a live dribble pass out to the corner right now where Jabari Smith is. But instead, he takes this extra step. And again, the ball could go out now. Like he could decide here, okay, I'm going to take one more step in. Here, try and draw Jalen in, try and draw, Aaron Wiggins one direction or another here. Doesn't help that his man cuts, which is just a no-no for me here. But he needs to decide here, I'm going to make this pass on this next step, in my opinion. Instead, he takes an extra step. And because of this dive, which isn't great, because Chet is there to kind of wall this off and make this a really difficult pass. The whole time, Reed is trying to freeze this defender because Chet has to be here in the ball screen coverage. Jalen Williams has to be here on the roll, and Aaron Wiggins is in 1-on-2. But I think he's a step late here. And really, you can see he's looking this way. He's doing the right thing in terms of trying to manipulate Aaron Wiggins with his eyes. He's looking this way. He even gets Wiggins to step this way. Now, the question is, did he give himself enough time against Jalen Williams? And realistically, the answer here is no, because J-Dub is 6'6", 6'5" with a 7'2" wingspan and an all defense team guy. So that's hard. That's a pass that's got to be hit earlier, or your other option here is to Nash this. And by Nash, you keep your dribble alive underneath the rim, and then you have, okay, Nate Williams is coming in. Jabari relocates out here maybe, or maybe you Nash it and you make this a little bit of an easier angle to engage Jabari here, or you just keep your dribble alive and you dribble the ball back out. But the jump pass here doesn't really work for me. I get that he's trying to create the angle here. I get that he's trying to manipulate Aaron Wiggins, which I think he actually does a pretty good job of. But this is stuff that takes young guards a long time. Like Darius Garland, like has just started getting great at this. Darius Garland's been in the league now for, I think this is his 6th or 7th year. It takes time to figure this out. Like it takes reps. It takes real experience. And this is why like this game is exciting for Reed Sheppard, because he's getting those reps. He's getting these chances to see these things and process them. And by the way, you're going to see how it works out in the fourth quarter. He problem solved and made it so that when he started to drill shots, he was able to, kind of manipulate defenders around and utilize his passing off of that. But there are things that really take reps. And if you are committed to Reed Sheppard long-term, you do kind of have to ride the wave a little bit. And I think that's what I'm like disappointed most about this season with Houston in regard to Reed. They're a great team and they're going to make the playoffs. And I understand that like they want to win now. I think that they would probably be better off winning like 2 fewer games, 3 fewer games, whatever it would be, and probably getting Reed the experience, even if it means like falling to the play-in, honestly. I think I would just rather give Reed like real reps and real experience, like get a chance to like run the show and get some rhythm, which I feel like just hasn't happened this year, but we'll talk about all this at the end. So this one, Kaysen, again, great defender. And Reed just calmly gets to his spot again, right? Like, it's hard to overemphasize. Like, Kaysen Wallace isn't quite like an all defense guy. He'd probably be in the top like 35 defenders in the league. I don't know what the exact number is, but at the very least, he's like a top 10% defender in the NBA. And Reed is just dealing with the ball pressure, comfortable keeping a live dribble, getting into a rescreen, getting to his spot in the middle of the court, on balance, wide open jumper from 16 feet, 4 seconds left on the shot clock. And there's just like no chance that ball's not going in. It's terrific. That's the kind of stuff where I go, okay, like I get that the rookie season hasn't been great, but if you give him a chance to like really run, it feels like you'd see this a lot more. Like if he was playing for a rebuilding team, I feel like he would still be in the rookie of the year conversation. This is the best defensive team we've seen in a long time. And he's just very comfortably here. Now we're in the third quarter. Getting to that elbow area. And once he does that, he's able to make decisions off of it. Like this one here. You know, again, I love this dribble here, these two little pound dribbles, because it engages Hartenstein a little bit more, which gives Lawndale a bit more time to dive. So Lawndale's now going to dive. He's going to short roll, I guess, here is how this ended up going. But the whole time you can see where Reed's eyes are. Reed's eyes are not on Hartenstein, even though he's looking right, through him here. His eyes are on Chet to figure out what is Chet doing. And you're going to see Chet take one small step with his right foot right there. And as soon as Chet gets here, Reed knows that passes there. He's able to get that ball out. Right to Jabari. Drills a three. This is fantastic. Like this is what you want to see from a young guard. Like going up against a 6'6" MVP candidate with a 7-foot wingspan, who again, like for me, not an all defense guy, but Shea might make the all defense team this year, just as a guy that's in the MVP race and is a good defender. I probably wouldn't have him there, but Shea is at the very least, again, like a top 10% defender in the NBA. He's really good at it. Reed, just very comfortable, keeping him on his hip. Figuring out, okay, what is this backline defender going to do? Is he going to step in? Cool. I've got this kick out here to Jabari. It's a little off target, but it's good enough for Jabari to get an open three and to drill it. It's perfect. Now this one, I left this one on here just because like, I think this one kind of shows the difficulty for Reed kind of getting through screens. So here, Hartenstein comes and sets this screen. Dort's just going to curl around it. Just a little down screen here from Hartenstein. Nothing crazy. But the way that this play operates as soon as Dort catches the ball here is that because Hartenstein is diving, it's kind of like a ball screen action where Lawndale has to get some depth because he has to be available for Hartenstein here. Meaning it's really incumbent upon Reed to get back in front. And frankly, it's incumbent upon Reed to be tighter here. This is a lot of space. And you can see he kind of gets a late start as well on the screen. Kind of starts like with that first walk step and then he gets into his run and he's just all the way behind now. And because he is smaller and not like a crazy athlete, does a good job getting back in front, but he has that little jump where he leaves his feet, right? And that'll get better. Like he won't do that as consistently as he gets older. But you can kind of see that it kind of throws him off the whole way as he's trying to get back in front. And he does a good job again, like disrupting Dort. I like that he works hard. Like, I think that he's not going to be like a total catastrophe on defense, but there are real limitations that you're going to have to work with. So this one, again, just gets locked on Shea. I mean, just the length. I mean, you see it here, obviously. That little jab step. And because Shea is so long and so long-limbed, right? He creates this separation. Like it's who he is. And because he's so good at driving, you have to keep it honest. Like he keeps defenders honest with these little step backs because he's such a good driver and so effective. But as soon as he gets this much separation from Reed, it's literally just over. It's a wide open 3. Like I get that Reed fights back into this one and is explosive as a leaper. Like this is actually kind of one where I think you get to see how explosive Reed is as a leaper. And like he's semi twitchy even. And he's reactive. It's about as good of a closeout as you can get from that distance against that player. If you have a 6'3" wingspan and you're 6'1", it just is a limitation, right? So again, like to me, this has got to be probably Jabari. I mean, maybe not. Yeah, it probably does. It probably needs to be Jabari coming over and helping here and Reed going across to take Jalen. I get that it's hard to do that and like cross match and transition, but you can even see like Jabari kind of step up and get over there to help. But here, whoo, look at the hands again. The hands are just ridiculous. I will say this one here, you get to see just like a slight fumble right here where he kind of has to like lift his hand up over the ball again, right? It's not quite a carry, but it's, you know, a little close to a carry. And he loses control of that ball just like a little bit. There's space for Reed, I think, to tighten his handle just a small amount, like the smallest amount in the world. And I think that he'll be in better shape on plays like this and to like just play through contact a little bit better. And that'll happen as he gets stronger. But like he kind of loses control there for a second. And I think it throws off his gather to the rim. I would imagine if that doesn't happen, he's probably a little bit more able. It's hard to say what he's trying to do here. It does feel like he's trying to like snake off Shea's angle here and cut it off, which means he's always going to go to the right. And then he's going to try and, you know, use his frame to shield Chet. Chet's just 7 foot with a 7'5" wingspan, and that's always going to be tough. But then you just get this, you know, disaster show of a situation where he gets blocked by Chet. Great work. And then Jabari just like, you know, unfortunately misses both bunnies at the basket. Not great. This one, you know, Reed gets pushed back, gets out to Jalen Green. I left this one here because, yeah, it's a miss, but I like the fact that he's experimenting with like no dip, minimal dip threes. I love the way he relocates around the 3-point line here. He's recognizing, all right, Lawndale's probably going to dive or at least get into that like kind of short roll pocket pass area. That's going to mean that Hartenstein's going to go this way. With where Jalen is, Shea's going to have to go like all the way through the play here to get all the way back. Relocates, does a great job. Never brings this ball down to his waist. Never, you know, gets below the letters here of Houston, as you can see on the gather for the 3. Just misses it. This is one he'll make, you know, when he's older. Honestly, this is one that I think he would make, you know, a decent amount of the time right now. Just ends up not falling. But that's a good sign to me that he's experimenting with like no dip threes and things like that. That's where he has a chance to be like really lethal and dangerous to me. Now this one. Yeah. I think this is where he like kind of starts to get into trouble a little bit on defense. Is it feels like he's like kind of overcompensating on some level too for the lack of length. And again, this is on Shea. Shea's an MVP candidate. Feels like he's kind of shooting through here to try and stop the DHO, try and maybe get a steal. And because he kind of overcommits here, and I would imagine he's overcommitting because he feels like he has to in terms of the length, Shea's just able to get downhill. Backdoor cut. Easy layup. Look, there are a lot of learning moments for Reed in this game defensively, but now we're into the fourth quarter. And all of these things that we've seen throughout this game, we now get to see Reed has kind of processed them. He's kind of figured them out. So this is a fun little action here. Where's that? I think that might be Nate Williams going to come down. And it's going to essentially act as like a tilt-a-whirl, like Spain action, right? And this is beautiful. Like this is an elite screen here from Nate Williams. And more than anything, man, I mean, the touch on this lob is remarkable. This is ridiculous from Reed because he has to throw it softly enough to get up over. He has to throw it with enough of a loft and an arc to get it up over Cason Wallace, to get it up over Aaron Wiggins if Wiggins leaps up for it. But he has to throw it hard enough to where Chet can't beat N'Faly Dante to that spot. That is, I think, literally the only spot. The window for this pass is literally like right here. Like the window for this has to be to the left of the rim, and it's got to be literally like right there. Like that's the window where that ball needs to be. And it needs to be on time with the right velocity, with the right loft. That's a ridiculous pass. That is an insane, insane pass. Ends up being an and one, but like this is a great action. First action of a fourth quarter. You're down 16. You're probably thinking, all right, like maybe this balloons out a little bit. We might just be getting some guys some reps here. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's why he went number 3 in the draft. This entire fourth quarter really is why he went number 3. But like all of this stuff in terms of blending the shooting, the skill, the ball screens, the passing ability. This is sick. That is sick stuff. That is like a 9 out of 10 degree of difficulty pass. Maybe like an 8.5. And he just absolutely drills it. And then this one. All right. We're just now beating Cason Wallace to spots. Like in a straight line. So inside out, hang dribble, and we're just beating him to where we want to get to. We're going to get to the middle of the lane, and we're going to jump up with a beautiful, nice little fade away, like mini fade here. And that's just easy money for Reed. Like if we're just beating guys in isolation that are as good as Cason Wallace, like we got a stew going with Reed here. This is beautiful. This is beautiful to me. And then again, now we got Aaron Wiggins on him. Ball screen. Ends up being short, but I love the confidence, right? Like this is kind of why I say that I think they need to just play him and let him get through some, reps and let him get through some game action, because like the confidence level here is clearly growing throughout the course of the game as he processes things, as he figures things out. Hartenstein's pretty high here, but Reed just feels good enough to pull this. And I'm glad he does. He's going to have to make that shot, like not consistently, but he probably has to make it at like a 32, 33% clip at some point in his career, if not more. You'd hope for more. But that's a hard shot for a righty going to his right, being able to get to that shot. I love the confidence. If he's confident like that, it's a big deal. And I would just love to see it more. Feels like when he comes in now, like when he's a backup and he's playing behind Fred and everything, it just feels tentative to me. It feels like he doesn't want to make a mistake because he knows that he's going to get pulled for Aaron Holiday if he makes a mistake. And the backup point guard role is just a different vibe, right? This isn't to say that Reed's better than Fred VanVleet. I just wish we get more opportunities like this, I guess, to see him kind of roll. Like, honestly, I think if I was them, like late in the year, I know that they have to kind of win every game. They're sitting here in 5th in the West, right? Like, I might like to see him maybe more than anything, just like kind of rest Fred a little bit. Like, Fred's missed, I think, like 15, 20 games this year. That this is his first start feels bizarre to me, frankly. I mean, again, you just get this little ghost action, and my goodness. I mean, that gather, the rhythm, the hop step, like the whole thing. I mean, this is against freaking Jalen Williams. Again, J-Dub, 6'6", 7'2" wingspan, all defense guy this year for me, probably. You just get this little ghost screen here from Jabari. And then he's just able to cut off the angle so beautifully. You get this little hop step here. And then he goes up with the left inside hand to finish. I mean, this could be inside hand to finish. This could be a dump off to Dante if he wants it. I mean, it's a pretty sick play. And again, that's against a guy in Isaiah Hartenstein as a rim protector who, if he hadn't missed, 30 games this year or whatever he's missed so far, he would be in contention for all defense. He is fantastic on this end. He's a great rim protector. And that little hop step there forces him out high, and Reed understands, okay, I can just go under with the inside hand. The creativity here is just beautiful to me. Now we're going to get Reed inbounds back to him. Gives it back to Jayshawn Tate. Drills a 3. Nothing really to this one, right? I think as soon as Reed sees, Jalen Williams like head kind of fly back here on this screen, he's just going to pull. And he drills it. 28-foot, 29-foot 3. Let's rock. And oh, by the way, this was a 20-point game or whatever it was, right? Where were we? We were at 16 before the shot. We were at 18 before the layup. Now we're at 16. He's going to drill this 3. Now we're at 13. Bring the ball up the court again against Jalen Williams. Great defender. Ball screen. And now we're cooking with gas. Another screen. His window is here. We've seen him miss one of these already. This one he drills. Here's the other thing. If he starts drilling this shot, Hartenstein comes out higher. Okay. Now I hit the pocket pass to Jayshawn Tate. Now someone's got to help. Kenrich Williams has to help. Okay. We're going to hit Whitmore for a wide open 3. Maybe Chet comes out. X is out. Maybe Whitmore, maybe hits the reversal to the corner. Extra pass. Jabari Smith wide open in the corner for 3 at that point. This is the stuff that his shooting and his gravity has potential to bring as he gets more and more reps and as he gets more consistent. Now we're in transition. 8-point game. Again, Jalen Williams. Empty side ball screen. Whitmore. Now we're coming around. We're getting to the middle of the court. Cason Wallace, not a normal quote unquote big defender in a ball screen, comes out real high, gets off of his line. Reed makes the timely pass here. Dort just has to step up and foul him. Just has to, right? That's the only option. That gets it within 6. Goes back out to 8. The next possession. I love this. Kind of a loose ball, offensive rebound. I think that was off of an offensive rebound. Jabari gets it, throws the ball up here. And you're just going to see Reed go to the corner. He's going to relocate. Just falls short, right? But I love the relocation. I think that's super smart. Again, when he's 22, 23, 24, he's probably going to make that shot. He's an elite shooter. Back out to 14 now, unfortunately. But again, you have a great defender here in Cason Wallace picking you up 70 feet from the rim. What's going to happen here? Reed feels him just get right off of his line and attacks his front foot. He's going to make him turn and get back in recovery, right? This is really smart. Just kind of uses his shoulder. Goes inside here. This is the thing that makes Reed really special, I think, is the balance, to be able to constantly get on balance with his jumper. Planting on one leg like this isn't something that everybody in the NBA can do. They're great athletes. They're great coordinated athletes. They're extremely well-balanced players. This is kind of the thing that in my opinion, people often miss in draft analysis is, can somebody kind of stop on one leg like this, maintain perfect balance, and get to shots from different angles, right? So this one, Reed does a great job. He doesn't need to have that leg out, but he does in case somebody comes, just to kind of shield. And this is essentially a little floater, and that one goes in. I mean, this is a disgusting fourth quarter. And now we're just drilling Jack McVay in the corner for 3. So what are we looking at here? Kind of a double screen. The Rockets really like to run this action. It's almost like a Horns-ish set. It's like a Horns extended, I guess I would call it. Reed's bringing the ball down the court. On the right side of the court. So Whitmore kind of comes out a little bit more aggressively here. This can turn into multiple different things, right? Dante here can come out here. Reed can take one screen. He can do what he does in this situation, which is set it up almost as a double drag. Can also come and kind of set it up as a step up here. And then if that player can shoot, which in this case he can't, but if you set it up that way, you can then have Whitmore here And then that player can kind of come off of it that way. That's why this is a little bit more complicated to guard than, meets the eye. And it's why Chet is trying to stay like a little bit more attached here, because you don't know who's going to get the ball. Now, having said that, given who Chet is guarding, in my opinion, and N'Faly Dante, who is like not an offensive player unless he's 3 feet from the rim, I think he needs to kind of be sagging off a little bit more here. And really, again, this is kind of the threat of Reed's gravity. I think they're trying to play this like a little bit flatter, or potentially they're worried about the double drag here. I actually don't know why Chet is so far off of his line here. Teams guard double drags in different ways. Sometimes they'll switch the first one and play drop in the second one. Sometimes they'll just switch kind of all three. Sometimes, if it's a big and the inside player is the big, they'll just have the guard to guard switch, basically, guard to guard in this case. It's really like guard to wing switch. And they'll have Chet kind of float all the way over. I think that's kind of what they're trying to do here, is have Chet kind of float all the way over in a double drag. But Reed kind of recognizes early that Chet's cheating a little bit here, and recognizes the best way to get downhill is by rejecting. And because he gets that early penetration, Dort just has to be here. Got to be there and help, either on Reed or he's got to be there in case of a roll. And as soon as Dort takes those, 1 or 2 steps in, right here, you can see Reed's eyes. Reed is looking corner the whole way. And that's Jack McVay. That's a 40% 3-point shooter. McVay doesn't play a lot, but very significant real shooter. Now this one, I like how he gets under the screen here. I like how he gets into Shea's space. I like how he's able to at least like sort of contest from behind here. This was probably his best ball screen rep defensively for me in this game. That's why I put it on here. I think there's a chance he can be like non-disastrous. I like that he gets under it. But even still, like, he's on Shea's side here. To me, this probably just needs, it's hard to say Shea should like ever pass, really, given how good he is as a scorer. But I think this is just a little scoop here to Chet, personally. Or it's, you go up and you bring Dante out and then you dump it to Chet. But regardless, it's a good defensive rep. I think it's as good as you're going to see Reed do in circumstances like that without getting back in front. Now we're in transition again. Hands. Like, J-Dub doesn't even complain about this one. Like, he knows Reed got him clean. Reed gives him a little smack on the ass, like, I got you. The hands are great. The hands are really good. So this one gets the rebound. 9-point game. 4 minutes left. I don't know why. Again, I think this is just a little bit late on the recognition to me, because Chet is turning to run here. He's trying to hit Whitmore, who's like a little bit ahead of Chet with this, headman pass. You can see Whitmore here. But the angle that he's going to have to throw it at, the ball's going to end up like here, let's call it. And you're still going to have Whitmore against Chet in a one-on-one. It's just not, it's not a great decision. Ends up getting deflected by Dort, right? And let this run through again. But great contested rebound over Shea. I think he's just trying to do a little too much. I get what he sees here. Honestly, if he wants to get the ball to that side of the court, I think it just makes more sense to get the ball to Jonathan Williams there. Ends up being a little bit of a backbreaker. They end up coming back a little bit here. I think they do get it within 6 again with like a minute left in the game. You know, this one, Reed, I think this is the last play we've got here. Right? Yeah, that's the last play. So again, just very comfortable finding that mid-range. Dante, you know, screen, rescreen, slip. Slip means that Chet's got to get some depth. And then Reed's just comfortable getting to that shot. I'm glad that's the one we finished on because it was a good one. There were a couple other ones later. I didn't want to finish on a sour note given how good the fourth quarter was. But I think where I'm at with Reed is that a lot of this was very positive. Like this is his best game of his career by far. But the fact that it came against the Oklahoma City defense without really a whole lot of help from his teammates all the time, right? Like it's not like Amen Thompson was out there. Jalen Green was bad in this game. Like they didn't even close with Jalen. You're closing with like Jack McVay, Nate Williams, Nafali Dante. And you're kind of keeping afloat against a full strength Oklahoma City team. I don't know, man. Like that feels like a win to me. Obviously, it doesn't outweigh the entire season for Reed. Reed has been not awesome this season, and we can admit that, and it's okay. He's averaging 4 points, shooting 33, 28, 82 right now. But I think that where I'm at with this is that anytime like Fred misses a game here at the end of the year, I think that Reed's got to be the guy that plays is what this game says to me. And really like Ime has to give him a little bit more of a leash to go out and like make mistakes, to go out and kind of just get the flow of the game, understand what's going on and just play. This was a positive game for me. Like I know that they lose, I think by like 9 or whatever. And there are defensive flaws that we went through in detail in this game. But I haven't seen many better single games from a rookie this year than this one, if I'm being completely honest. I've broken out a lot of rookie games on this channel this year. There are a few that were really, really impressive, like some of the early Jared McCain stuff. I think he was quite good. There are some Donovan Clingan games where I go, oh, wow, like this is super impressive. But a lot of those games don't come against this defense, particularly where they are at full strength. Like Caruso played in this game even. Shea, Dort, J-Dub, like all of their best perimeter defenders. Kaysen was in this game. They had both bigs in Chet and Hartenstein. Houston had like nobody here. They got a terrible game from Jalen Green. And they still like were competitive in this one. I don't know. I haven't seen many better rookie games given the quality of competition here than what Reed did in this game. And if I was a Houston fan, this is kind of the game. I would want to see like a couple more of these down the stretch potentially. But this is a game that would give me a lot of confidence heading into his second season. And as an evaluator, like if Houston called and for whatever reason, I don't think they're willing to do this, but you know, if I was a team with a star and Houston calls this summer and is trying to get that star, this is the kind of game that would say to me, oh no, this guy's still real. Like this is going to be good. This is going to be impactful. This is going to be effective. He's going to be a real dude in the NBA. That's a target for us. Like almost as much as any player on that roster, you know, removing Amen, you know, I think if Houston's going to get a star, Amen's probably off the table. Şengün's probably off the table, but Reed to me is one of the guys like I would probably be trying to get if I was moving a star right now and if Houston was willing to talk about him. So this game was super impressive. This was a very, very, very impressive game. And again, if I was the Rockets, I wouldn't be looking to move him. I would guess that they aren't looking to move him this summer for a star. It would take a lot. But this was an awesome game, a highly, highly impressive performance against one of the best defenses we have seen over the last 20 years at full strength. And that says a lot to me. That says more to me than, a guy having 5 straight games against Chicago, Washington, New Orleans, on defense, right? Or, 3 straight games against those 3 defenses, like figuring out how to problem solve, dealing with the pressure that this defense provides you, leading your team without any of its, star power to 128 points. It's a highly, highly, highly impressive basketball game to have played. That's it for this episode of Post Game Theory. Go hit the subscribe button while you're here. It really helps boost the channel and it really helps us find more audience. We will be back early next week, definitely with like an interview and a breakdown from Jalen Wells. We will also be back with more of these now. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.